Hello everyone, my name is Roman Tacos, and I'm making David's video for him. Just kidding. I'm doing some voiceover for him. Today, we'll be looking at the Nimrod Mark 1 and 2. The Nimrod Mark 1 is a 1.0 reserve vehicle, while the Mark 2 is a researchable vehicle that's also a 1.0. They are both nearly identical, the Mark 2 having a slightly more powerful engine than the Mark 1. With the two of them being a pretty mixed bag compared to some of the other biplanes at the same tier. The Nimrod series of naval biplanes was originally designed by Sidney Cam and manufactured by Hawker. Sidney would work on many of Hawker's designs, from its early biplanes to jets until his death in 1966. Some of the most notable projects he contributed to include the Hawker Hurricane, Typhoon, Tempest, and even the Harrier and Hunter, but these deserve a video in the future. Back to the Nimrod. In 1926, the British Air Ministry needed a replacement for the dated Fairey Flycatcher, which pilots ironically said could be outmatched in terms of speed by flies outside the aircraft. This new plane was originally named the Norn, and made its first flight in 1930. The plane was satisfactory and renamed the Nimrod Mark 1. With a production order for 35 planes in 1931. This was expanded to a further 19 in 1932, making the total number of Mark 1's 57 airframes. Experiments with this later batch of Mark 1's would lead to a further development, the Nimrod Mark 2. These would be retrofitted with experimental swept wings, as well as a more powerful engine. Some 30 of these new Nimrods will be produced, making the total number of Mark 1's and 2's 87. The Nimrod would be replaced by the Sea Gladiator by the outbreak of World War II, though some would be shipped to Denmark, Japan, and Portugal. Denmark would produce 10 Nimrods locally, with 8 being taken over in airworthy condition during the German invasion. This means that the Nimrod was never actually used in combat, since any indications of one being flown into battle during World War II have either been lost or don't exist. You can still see both two Nimrods in the Imperial War Museum's Duxford Aerodrome. You can also find replica Fairey Flycatcher in the Fleet Air Museum's private collection, which you might be able to see if you ask nicely. In terms of mobility, neither Nimrods are particularly capable. The Nimrod 2 does sport a more powerful engine that has war emergency power, whereas the Nimrod 1 has a weaker engine that can't, though other than that they are identical. Frankly, I never noticed the war emergency power helping much anyway, so it's more like a nice feature. The main highlight about its mobility is probably its climb rate, around 10 meters a second, stock with a 15-degree incline. Pretty good, at least by biplane standards, though with its underpowered engine there's absolutely no way you can survive being shot at while climbing, simply because you're moving too slow. Diving with the Nimrod is a fickle thing as well, since while you're definitely going to be faster, the engine isn't going to be able to support pulling out of the dive and converting the energy you got back into altitude, simply because it's just too weak. In short, the Nimrods suffer from an underpowered engine that undermines its mobility as a whole. When it comes to firepower, the Nimrods aren't going to help you much yet again. Let's take a look at what you're shooting with. Vickers E 7.7mm machine guns. Sounds fairly standard. Almost every reserve starter has 7.7s or something similar. But there's some things other biplanes have that you are most certainly lacking in. For one, your bullets travel absolutely pathetically slow. The bullet velocity is just genuinely horrifically bad. I could never construe enough words to describe just how painfully shit the velocity really is. You're going to have to lead your targets like you're throwing a rocket in, but even a rock can kill people. The E deals some of the lowest amounts of damage in the game, being a good competitor to the Japanese Type 89 for the absolute worst machine gun. The German MG-17s, American Brownings, and Russian SHKAS will completely blow you out of the water. Frankly, the Vickers are absolutely abysmally bad. Period. Now, finally, maneuverability. It's okay. And by okay, I mean very, very average. Your pitch control's great, no surprise there, you're in a biplane after all. It has 2 wings. But your roll and yaw controls are just saddening. This plane suffers from the saddest case of roll lock I've ever seen. When suddenly turning, while say, trying to shoot something, your pitch has more force than your roll does, causing your plane to start pitching when your plane hasn't rolled into position yet. This is especially apparent in high-speed dives when your roll controls are non-existent. As you can imagine, this makes repositioning while diving on a target very, very hard. It also makes moving around while shooting someone, or while being shot at, a challenge to say the least. Your yaw has absolutely no authority either, so you're going to be using your pitch and crappy roll for getting onto your enemy or running for your life, so your maneuverability isn't anything special either. So, how do you play the Nimrods? Well, you don't. I recommend you get the hell out of Tier 1 British aviation as quickly as possible, bomb rushing to the Hurricanes and Spitfires the second you get the chance. But alas, you will still probably have to play the Nimrod at some point, so here's how you do it. Side climb at a 15-degree angle at 100% throttle for what will feel like probably an hour. Once you're above at least the majority of the enemy team, dive on one that will probably pose the least resistance. A light bomber would be the best target since they're usually lightly armored and somewhat sluggish. Remember, your guns are dog shit, so you'll have to aim for crew members and critical components. If you can't take out the pilot directly after getting a kill or two, after hopefully clueless new players, the safest thing to do is to just ground pound some trucks or artillery until the round is over. Repeat this for 3 games and you might have enough research points to unlock the Gladiator 2, a substantially better plane, and easily your best Tier 1 fighter. I don't recommend any form of prolonged dogfighting, since other biplanes are better than you in a variety of ways, and early monoplane fighters usually have speed or energy advantage. Remember, this isn't the whole tech tree, it gets better, but if these early biplanes really are just too unbearable, don't push yourself to keep playing them.
So that's it. Was that entertaining? Informative? Sorry for the long wait. Haven't really been in a War Thunder mood for a while. Leave a comment to let me know how this was. Special thanks to Ramen Tacos for editing assistance, and basically all the footage, as well as being the handsome voice narrating this video. And of course, my gorgeous self for writing the script. See you guys next time, and have a wonderful